There was a catfish tournament on Lake Texoma 2 weeks ago. 64 boats, thousands of dollars in entry fees. Guys running Lowrance units worth more than my first car, dragging the bottom with rigs that cost $8 apiece. The winning team brought in 3 fish after 8 hours of work. Third place had 2. Most boats got skunked completely. Meanwhile, a 76-year-old retired wheat farmer from outside Durant was sitting on a concrete boat ramp with a lawn chair and a styrofoam cup full of frozen garlic cubes he made in his freezer. In 5 minutes, he had catfish stacked around his feet like cordwood. In an hour, he had so many fish, he started releasing them because he ran out of space in his cooler. The tournament guys saw it happening. Some of them motored over to watch, and when they realized what he was using, they got angry. Not impressed. Angry. Because he just proved that everything they spent money on was completely unnecessary. If you want to learn the methods the catfish guides and tournament circuits do not want you to know, hit subscribe right now. This channel exists to expose the cheap, brutally effective tactics that got buried so corporations could sell you expensive solutions to problems that do not exist. His name is Carl Hutchins. Grew up on a farm outside Madill, Oklahoma, back when the Dust Bowl was still fresh in people's memory, and you did not waste a nickel on anything you could make yourself. His granddaddy taught him to fish during the Depression, using scraps from the kitchen and whatever grew wild along the creek beds. Carl never stopped. He has been fishing the same way for 70 years, and in all that time, he has not spent more than $20 total on bait. I met Carl on a Saturday morning in late August. The tournament was already underway. Boats were scattered across the lake, working humps and channels, dropping expensive prepared baits, and cut shad into the thermocline. Carl showed up around 7:30 with a 5-gallon bucket, 2 rods that looked like they survived a tornado, and an old igloo cooler that was probably older than I am. He walked past the boat ramp, past the tournament staging area, and set up on a chunk of broken concrete right at the water's edge. No boat, no sonar, no rod holders. Just a lawn chair, his bucket, and that styrofoam cup I mentioned. Inside the cup were about 30 small cubes of frozen garlic paste. They looked like dirty ice cubes, smelled like an Italian restaurant dumpster. Carl pulled out a treble hook rig, tied it to some 20-pound monofilament that was so old it had turned yellow. He reached into his bucket and pulled out a chunk of raw chicken liver, squeezed one of those garlic cubes over it until the cube started to melt. The garlic oil soaked into the liver. Then he pinched the liver onto the treble hooks, added a slip sinker, and lobbed the whole thing about 30 feet out into the lake. I timed it. 4 minutes and 18 seconds. That is how long it took before his rod tip started bouncing. He picked it up, let the fish run for a second, then set the hook. The rod bent into a horseshoe. He pulled up a channel catfish that had to be 7 or 8 pounds. Thick, healthy, mustard yellow belly, mustard yellow. Carl unhooked it, dropped it in the cooler, and immediately rebaited. Same process. Chicken liver. Frozen garlic cube squeezed over it until it melted into the bait. Cast it out. This time it took 3 minutes. Another catfish. This one even bigger. By the time the first tournament boat drifted close enough to see what he was doing, Carl had 6 catfish on ice and was working on number 7. Here is the science the bait industry will never teach you, because if they did, you would stop buying their products immediately. Catfish do not have great eyesight. They hunt almost entirely by smell and taste. They have chemoreceptors all over their bodies. Their barbels, which most people call whiskers, are covered in taste buds that can detect a single molecule of amino acid in a billion parts of water. In murky lake water, smell is everything. If a catfish cannot smell it, it does not exist. Garlic contains a compound called Allicin. When you crush or freeze fresh garlic, the cell walls rupture and release allicin into the surrounding liquid. Allicin is one of the most powerful natural attractants in the aquatic food chain. It does not just smell strong. It triggers a feeding response in fish because it mimics the scent profile of decaying organic matter, which is what catfish evolved to eat. When you freeze garlic into cubes with a little bit of water or oil, you are creating a time-release scent bomb. The ice melts slowly, As it melts, it releases Allicin in a steady stream. That creates a scent trail in the water that spreads with the current. Catfish can detect that trail from hundreds of yards away. They follow it upstream to the source. And when they find your bait soaked in that same garlic oil, they do not hesitate. They hit it hard. The bait companies know this. They have known it for decades. But they cannot charge you $40 for a bottle of frozen garlic water. So instead, they took the same principle, wrapped it in artificial stabilizers and preservatives, added some food coloring, and sold it back to you as a proprietary catfish attractant. Same chemistry, different price tag, massive profit margin. Carl's garlic cubes cost him about 5 cents each to make. He buys garlic bulbs at the grocery store when they go on sale, peels them, crushes them in a blender with a little vegetable oil, pours the paste into an ice cube tray, freezes it. One tray makes enough cubes to last him a month. Total cost for a month of catfishing, maybe $2. The tournament guys were using prepared dip baits that cost $12 to $15 per jar. Some of them were using live bait they bought from the marina for $8 a dozen, and they were getting destroyed by a man using nickel cubes he made in his kitchen. Let me give you the breakdown because this is not folklore. This is measurable, repeatable results. Carl fished for 2 hours and 47 minutes. He caught 19 channel catfish. The smallest was 4 pounds. The largest was just over 12. Every single fish hit within 10 minutes of the bait entering the water. Most hit within 5. He used 11 garlic cubes total. At 5 cents per cube, that is 55 cents worth of attractant. The tournament results came in that afternoon. First place, 3 fish, total weight 21 pounds. Second place, 3 fish, 19 pounds. Third place, 2 fish, 14 pounds. Carl was not in the tournament, but if he had been, his worst 5 fish would have won it by a landslide. Cost comparison makes it even worse. Carl's bait for the entire session: chicken liver from the grocery store, $2 a pound, used maybe half a pound. Garlic cubes, 55 cents. Total expenditure, about $1.50. The average tournament angler's bait cost for that day, conservatively, $40 to $60 when you factor in prepared baits, live bait, and the lures they lost snagging structure. This is the con in its simplest form. The fishing industry built a business model on the idea that success requires constant spending. New attractants every season. New scent formulas. New delivery systems. But the actual science has not changed. Catfish respond to the same chemical signals they always have. The only thing that changed is how much money someone convinced you to spend accessing those signals. Carl does not fish tournaments. He does not run a guide service. He does not care if the internet believes him or not. He fishes to eat, the same way his family has fished for 4 generations. The knowledge he uses is not secret. It is just inconvenient for the people who profit from your confusion. So if you want to try this yourself and stop lighting money on fire at the bait shop, here is exactly what you do. Go to any grocery store. Buy fresh garlic. Not the pre-minced stuff in a jar. Not garlic powder. Fresh bulbs. You want 3 or 4 bulbs to start. They cost maybe $1 each. Peel the cloves. You do not have to be perfect. Just get the papery skin off. Put them in a blender or food processor. Add about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil or olive oil. The oil helps bind it and makes it freeze better. Blend it until it is a thick paste. It should look like rough pesto. Get an ice cube tray. Pour the garlic paste into the tray. Fill each compartment about 3/4 full. Put it in the freezer. Let it freeze solid. This takes about 4 hours. Once it is frozen, pop the cubes out and store them in a Ziploc bag in your freezer. They will keep for months. When you go fishing, bring them in a small cooler or a styrofoam cup like Carl does. At the water, bait your hook with whatever you are using. Chicken liver, cut shad, night crawlers, stink bait, does not matter. Take 1 garlic cube and squeeze it over the bait. Let it melt into the bait. You want the garlic oil to soak in. Then cast it out and wait. The cube will keep melting in the water. The scent cloud spreads. The catfish smell it. They come to investigate. And when they find your bait absolutely drenched in that Allicin-rich garlic oil, they hammer it. You do not need a degree in chemistry. You do not need a sponsorship from a tackle company. You do not need a boat or sonar or any of the expensive garbage the industry tells you is mandatory. You just need to understand what actually makes catfish bite, and then give it to them in the cheapest, most effective form possible. Carl has been doing this since before most catfish attractants even existed. It worked in the 1950s. It works now. The only difference is how much the bait industry convinced you to spend on inferior substitutes. If you want more of this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment and tell me the simplest, cheapest bait trick you ever saw someone use successfully. Let's build a library of this knowledge before it gets completely buried under marketing budgets. The tackle companies want it gone. That is exactly why we are keeping it alive. Now get out there, make some garlic cubes, and catch some fish without spending a fortune.